I'm Kanishka Veerasinghe. I'm the Director General and the Chief Executive Officer of the Employees Federation of Ceylon from Sri Lanka, which is the National Employees Organization. Because at present, like almost all countries in the world, Sri Lanka has also been affected severely by the pandemic, and our businesses, I mean, our country went into a lockdown very early on the 20th of March. But thanks to the proactive action taken by the government, we have been able to curtail our infections down to 1,600. When you have a population of 21 million, you see the amount of work that has gone on to curtail the pandemic. But as a result of this lockdown, all businesses, irrespective of whichever sector, were affected by it. And as you know, most of the export sector has come to a standstill because of the world economy grinding to a virtual halt, as it were. Uh, we emerged from a lockdown about 20 days ago, and but there have been severe restrictions placed on businesses to operate, uh, and enterprises have been very hard hit. Mostly, the export sector has been hard hit, and the tourism and the hospitality sector have equally been affected. Even the conventional health sector has been affected, but they are making a recovery. And the fastest to recover, as we see it now, would be the agriculture sector. But the traditional export crops such as tea and rubber again were badly hit because they could not have auctions, and exports did not take place as they ought to have. So as a result, our economy is will be severely affected by pandemic, and they have predicted less than 1% growth of the economy. We might even see a recession. Needless to say, there will be pressure on employers to retain employees as well, because we have seen a severe impact on their working capital and their ability to pay wages and so on. And unlike in other countries, we have not been able to sort of come to an understanding at the national level to freeze some of the laws that are applicable as well, because we don't have a parliament at the moment, because parliament was dissolved in March with the hope of having elections on the 20th of April. But that did not take place. So, but thankfully, the constitution gives the executive president sufficient powers to make provisions with regard to urgent financial stimulus and so on. So that is something that we want to sort of address now as to what the Secretariat or the Employers Federation has done to assist members. What we did was we actually immediately did a assessment of the impact of the pandemic on our membership as well as employees in general. We had a survey that was conducted, and out of the survey we came to an assessment that there were priority areas to be assessed, and we did so. One was obviously the financial and fiscal stimulus, which we supported other EBMOs as well, the national and the Ceylon chambers, of commerce. But then we focused on employment issues where we have a mandate in relation to that. So we focused on actually making a 10-point submission to the government to assist employers, and this included, as I mentioned earlier, the financial stimulus part. But thereafter, we focused on immediate matters that need to be addressed, such as covering up for work when establishments are open. But as you know, though the economy has gradually opened in most parts of the world now, in Sri Lanka it's the same. We have not been able to bring the entire complement of workers in. So that has put added pressures on employers about payment of wages and things like that, even the basics things like that. But we took to heart certain principles, and I must actually here focus on some of the ILO standards as well. The recommendation on peace and resilience, we took to heart some of the principles that were enunciated in that recommendation, and focused in, despite not having our current laws becoming almost inactive or useless in this type of situation. We focused on getting tripartite understanding on certain urgent issues. One was the there was a task force that was set up to look into the effects of the pandemic on employment, which is functioning under the aegis of the Minister of Labour. We represent the employers as the most representative employers organization. There are a few other trade sector chambers as well. So the task force, we, as I mentioned, placed 10-point submission, but we focused on the issue of paying wages, because there was an issue with regard to paying wages for those who come to work as well as the workers who are benched. So the employers found it difficult to pay wages for both parties equally, because one actually was not contributing to any productive work, or they were at home. So there had to be some kind of understanding about payment of wages, and thankfully, because of the advocacy that the Employers Federation of Ceylon placed before the authorities as well as the trade union, our trade union colleagues, we were able to get a national tripartite understanding about prorating of wages. Of course, uh, this was only for it's only for a period of 2 months, May and June, and we are supposed to review this agreement again in June, so that we can, maybe apply it for July and August. Actually, this is an unprecedented situation, because I don't think the world has ever faced this type of situation before. But we took to heart that there are certain solutions and also certain values that, if we follow, we can actually get over some of these difficulties. At least, ensure that we create a silver lining, as it were, for ourselves, so that people can be guided through those difficult times, using certain standards. And here again, we because of our relationship with the ILO and our belief in tripartism, we have been able to sort of use those values even in difficult times, right? To convince other stakeholders, the government as well as trade unions, of the importance of working together and agreeing on certain things in spite of the difficulties parties have had to face during the pandemic. So I think that's the lessons learned.